Hello, my name's Justin. I'm a presenter on Do Not Scratch Your Eyes.
Hi, my name's Carl, and I'm a presenter on Do Not Scratch Your Eyes.
Hi there, it's Peter, and I'm a presenter on Do Not Scratch Your Eyes.
One thing I think we should start with, congratulations on upgrading the hardware there, chaps. You now look as if you're about to fly a plane or perhaps work in a call center. I'm not sure, but well done. A little bit of headset microphone envy goes a long way, I think.
Yeah, it's got a very call center vibe, I must admit. I do like it. I like it. It's all I blame Peter because if it wasn't for him and his commentary, I wouldn't have this headset.
There are some of us who set trends, and there are others who follow.
There you go. I might get around to getting one at some point. We'll see. Anyway, hello to you. Welcome along. I think we're going to do a bit of an end of year special, aren't we? Is that what we need to do here?
Well, I think we should honour the fact that it's been a truly fucking awful year, as well as month, as well as midterm review for the season. I think we should just throw the whole lot in and see what sticks.
There's your title right there. Right.
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely.
So before we start, go on, Carl.
I was just going to say that isn't that how we do our recruitment? We throw a load of shit at the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what happened. Some statistics here for you, which was sent over to me last night because I kind of asked for it on a Twitter space, and Nick the Hornet furnished me with this. Here we go. Our record in 2022. So I guess this starts from the beginning of January and goes to the end of December. We played 46 matches in 2022. How many of those do you think we won?
It's going to be shit. So let's go 11.
11, Peter? I think you probably know, but go on.
I think it's 12.
It is 12, yeah. So is that a quarter? Is a quarter of 46 12?
No, a quarter of 48 is 12, so it's just above. But I did hear somewhere else, somebody said it was 50 games. So does that include league games only? Or maybe there's been 4 cup games that we've also been shit in?
Yes.
Well, there probably has been, yeah. Okay, so out of those 46, won 12, drew 11, lost 23. Not good reading. There was a possible 138 points there. Can you do the maths as to how many we got?
12 points, sorry, so 36 plus 11, what, so 47?
47, yeah, 47 points. And
welcome to the Do Not Scratch Your Eyes maths class, everyone.
Yeah, I didn't realise there was going to be
I would have prepared, calculator or something.
Pay attention to Justin, there's going to be a test later.
There will be, yes, exactly.
I saw, and forgive me, I can't credit anyone, so I am stealing it, and I will find out who it is, but out of the 92 league sides, we are 91st. In the form table.
Really? Who's worse than us?
I mean, probably.
I know.
Do you know? Go on. Who's worse than us?
And I'm going to credit Voices from the Vic. Van Eycken came out with this, and I think also James from the Watford way was Scunthorpe at 97.
Oh fucking hell!
So take that, you Irons. Take that.
Scunthorpe that got relegated from the league into the conference.
Why do you think people were angry, Peter?
Well, I think a certain level of existentialism, a certain frustration at the cost of living crisis, but mainly I would suggest it was the shitness of the football. I definitely would put the majority of it down to the shitness of the team. Yeah, shitness is my suggestion.
Yeah, great
That's
word.
My answer.
Shitness. We've been papering over cracks though for so long, haven't we? We go back to that Luton game, which was obviously a great day in itself, but it has papered over so much because we haven't improved. We're closer to the bottom of the table than the top. We're, as we've just said there, we're in relegation form. You can't deny it. And we've said before, many moons ago, League One is littered with ex-Premier League sides for really bad mistakes. Shitness, as Peter's just said. And, I generally wouldn't be surprised if not this season, if next season we are in a fucking right old scrap. Because I just do not see it with those players that we've got on the pitch, and they're not just to blame. I will say that where we go. Where's the next win coming from? Because it fucking ain't at Norwich.
Away by Sierralta. Miscue from McCallum, and that could be trouble for Norwich. Asprilla looking to set Sarr away. McCallum lunging in. Ismail Sarr. Bayo's up there with him. Sarr. It's Bayo who may just have won it for Watford. A costly error by Norwich City, pounced upon by Watford. And that's the reaction that Slaven Bilic was calling for.
And I'm going, and I'm doing everything to get rid of my tickets.
I've seen you put
no,
them on
oh yeah, but no fucker stupid enough to take them off me.
When do you think over the past few seasons our fortunes have turned from being a fairly middle of the road successful Premier League team to where we are now, which is looking over our shoulder at potentially a relegation to League One?
FA Cup final, isn't it? For me, I think that's where I kind of go back and go, that was the pinnacle of where we were, and since then it's just fallen away. After the FA Cup final, probably that day you could include itself, because it wasn't the best, was it?
I did an article that ended up in the Do Not Scratch Your Eyes bumper book of nonsense, talk about a highlight of the season, which was, it didn't go into YBR because I just went on and on and on and on, and Colin just went, well, I can't give you half a magazine, just go away. Okay, so I thought, okay, I'll put it in here. If you go back to the cup final year, I think we won maybe one or two league games from February onwards. We really did absolute run out completely. And we talk about papering over the cracks. The cup run papered over a whole load of cracks. We were in absolute free fall at that time. And I think quite a lot of people and the club accepted that perhaps it might have been more sensible in their model for Yavi to have gone, because it kind of needed a bump. But what happened with the cup final was there was, according to rumour, shall we say, that there was bonuses that were not agreed upon. There were things that were contractually agreed that were reneged upon. There were moves that were reneged upon. So suddenly you've got players, and I'm not going to name Capu, Doucouré and Pereira because I'm bigger than that, but who suddenly downed tools the next season. And if you have a player who is not playing at 100% because he wants to get 100%, because he wants to get his move, he wants to get his money for his family, he wants to get away, suddenly you shut that down. You haven't got a player who's playing for Watford Football Club anymore. You have a disenfranchised and an absolutely disaffected employee, and there's nothing worse.
Do we still have very good players?
No,
I think.
No, we don't. We have the odd flash of brilliance, and we can probably sit here and name 2-3 of them. João Pedro, Asprilla will be a great player. I have no doubt, but here and now, no. And we're obviously linked to, and I was saying last night on the Twitter Spaces before Peter cut me off, that we're linked heavily with all these potentially great players, but that's all they are. They're potential great players. Do we have a player? Is there a player that the three of us could agree is key to our success? Probably all of us would say João Pedro is the only one. Barring that, I struggle. I really struggle. And Justin, you hit the nail on the head very recently. You said I've got no affiliation, no sort of feelings towards any of these players, and that's true. And that in itself is a fucking shit show of a situation to be in, that you can't, barring João Pedro, you can't really go, he tries, he gives 100%. In itself, it's terrible.
So I have to look at the fact that the academy has brought practically nobody through. There is nobody that we can say he is one of our own. We had Adrian Blake on the bench last night, and we were, after 75 minutes, we were 3-0 down, 78 minutes, whatever. Get a shot of Sarr. He's wandering around the place looking like, just never mind.
Is all of this whinging and moaning and whining, I've said this before, are we just being entitled? Are we being over entitled and really kind of shouting above our station, where we are a championship team? We're a championship team that's done very well for itself over the past few seasons. We find ourselves back in the championship struggling. Well, our definition of struggling isn't necessarily other teams' definition of struggling, Huddersfield and these kind of teams. Are we being over entitled, or should we be concerned at what's going on?
This is not an overreaction. If we are a club, along with Norwich, who Blackburn have been wandering around in the wilderness for some time. Sunderland are inexplicably, kind of got up there. Mowbray's gone from Blackburn to Sunderland and done a great job, to be quite frank. But us and Norwich will be hurt that we are not anywhere near the automatic promotion spots, because Sheffield United are already on 50 points. Not Burnley are on 53. That's the stratosphere that we should be in and around.
Why
and we're not.
Why should?
Well, and I'll tell you why we have to be in that area. Because the moment Gino Pozzo decided to terminate Rob Edwards' employment, we shifted from the thing where we were going to be building for the long term, changing the culture. You remember all of these words in and around August, where we're going to build and we're going to be buying, and we're going to be thinking long term, and we're going to be in here. It suddenly changed to, we're not going up. We need to go up. That was accompanied by an awful lot of Macquarie Bank financial instruments where we have been borrowing against this, that, and the other. We have borrowed so far in the last, year to 15 months perhaps now, against the ground. We've taken in the monies that we would get from parachute payments, not just for this year, but for next year. Take that in for a minute. We stay in the Championship, no parachute money. That's already been blurted away on fuck knows what. We've also claimed it on all of the transfers that have gone out, typically to Udinese. So it allows them to bring in cash, because basically what we do is we sell the debt that Udinese owe us to Macquarie Bank to take in a little less to us then. Where's the money gone? Now, we're walking into January with 13 points off of second place, right? With 3 points off of 15th place. That's why we're not just entitled. That's why we are seeing the trend. The trend is in the performances. It's not just in the last two results. We have, other than Luton and other than Stoke, we've really failed to put a team to the sword. I mean, we beat Reading 2-0 and we were shocking.
Where have we spent Dennis's 20? When they took Dennis for that money, I was.
We made something like £17 million in that deal, didn't we?
But we've had nothing in return. Not on the pitch.
The money goes because I don't know if you remember us going through the accounts. Earlier on, it was kind of February time, so we'll be looking forward to the next chart of accounts coming out. That'll be fun. You'll enjoy that, you two. The revenue when you fall into the Championship drops off a cliff. It goes from memory £120 million to £57 million, because 85% of our revenue was tied into TV revenue. Wow. Now, remember what I just said earlier on. We have already sold the parachute payment for next year. Now we've already done it. It's already gone.
It's already gone.
Because the whole kind of financial activity has felt like Gino's going, well, okay, I'm going to roll the dice. And he has presumably rolled the dice, but he hasn't done it by bringing anybody into Watford of any particular note, or with any methodology, or with any sense. If you remember when we had the meeting, when you guys had the meeting, well, no, let's correct this. When Carl had the meeting and when you gate crashed it, Justin, inexplicably. Right?
And I'll take you to a point on that, and Justin, remember this. Scott Duxbury sat opposite us and he mocked Luton Town. He mocked them. He said, how good can the Championship be that they're in the position that they're in? And he said that in front of the people that were there. They'll all remember it. And now look at him.
He was very disparaging about the Championship, saying that we should, with the players that we've got coming through and the ones that we've got, we should walk it. And I did take him to task on that and say no.
Yeah.
But, I guess if you've got that at the top, if that's the mindset at the top, then you're going to reap what you sow.
Can I ask a very straightforward question to you both? And it's very Carlos-esque, so excuse the terminology of it. But are we being fucked by our owners?
I don't think intentionally, no. I think they know what they're doing, and I think they think that it will come good in the end. I don't think there's any malice behind it. I don't think they're maliciously trying to ruin our club, but I think they are not doing a very good job of it.
We haven't even mentioned Mogi buyout yet, because if you're talking about somebody who's fucking over the club, what you're meaning by that, or what my interpretation of that is somebody doing something that is counter to the good of the club as an entity in and of itself. And at the moment, we're seeing inexplicable deals going on and money being siphoned from the club. Okay? Mm-hmm. I'm not saying it's being done illegally. I'm not saying it's being done immorally, but nor am I saying it's not. What I am saying is, for example, and we go back over the last few years. Look at Obiolari, right? A player who was signed apparently against his will. There is a trial of which that will be a part of in March, involving Mogi Bayat, who sits front and centre of the director's box, even though he's not a director of the club. Various other people, including Vic Bate, have put up some extremely well-researched pieces around certain personnel who were involved in some of the holding companies, also sitting on Mogi Bayat's in his other companies, of which it all plays a part. It all smells to high heaven, to be quite frank. And you've got an owner who refuses to come out and talk or say anything. We had, at the start of the season, we had Scott Duxbury making a very welcome line of communication open through Andrew French, and that now seems to have been turned off. And it feels like Scott Duxbury's been somewhat sidelined, I would suggest, by the handling of Rob Edwards and going in a different direction. Again, just purely me surmising, not based on anything at all, other than looking at what's happening and going, well, that seems a fairly reasonable kind of set of circumstances. We've seen the players who've come in under Mogi be inexplicably increased in price. Bio was signed on the 1st of July by Charleroi for 1.3 million euros. He was then sold to us for 5.8 million euros on the 2nd of July. The answer is yes. Something very stinky is going on. Am I happy that Gino came and bought the club and has improved the club and has done some things with the club? Absolutely. And we've said it all along. We can be very thankful for what he has done for the infrastructure of the club and what he's done to bring us about. But at this moment, and of the last, well, let's go back to 2019 and possibly even beyond then, have there been some strange things? Yeah, there bloody well have been.
What the line is, so what are we talking about? Do we say that's it now? As fans, we've had enough, and in which case, how does that manifest itself, or what? Because it really can only be the fans that drive the change.
It has to be the fans. Yeah, it has to be the fans. But like you say, you could have 4 people waving a hanky at the football ground, or you could go and start a march from the town centre down to Vicarage Road. But you've got to have those people, and the issue is there's enough people out there that have had enough of this situation. Have had enough of the ownership. Let's say it how it is. They've had enough of the ownership now. But what are they willing to do? What are they willing to do about it? What are we willing to do about it as individuals? Forget our podcast. What would we do about this situation?
Well, I will say that 4 people waving in handkerchiefs would require an increase of 33%.
Sorry.
And a big hello to John Parslow.
Well done, Mr. Parslow.
At that point, well done, sir. So another hanky waverer, as we like to be described. Your club to be looked after. You want it to be have a custodian who is going to look after it come hell or high water. Do you remember those words?
Oh, yeah, remember that.
Trend.
I like that phrase.
Do I trust Gino to look after it come hell or high water? No, I don't. Because if he did, and if his whole interest and intention was to move it forward, regardless of what he's brought onto the pitch, we wouldn't be seeing these very, very strange dealings going off of the pitch. We were in the Premiership for 5 years. Where's that money gone? And that's a reasonable question. But you have to go, I think, to be fair to Gino Pozzo and indeed Gianpaolo Pozzo and the Pozzo family who originally bought it before ownership simply transferred. We got told 3 months ago, whenever it was, a few years back, oh no, Gino Pozzo owns it now. And Rafael Riva has produced a counterfeit letter from Santander that suggests that Gino's got them. What the fuck is that about? This is what I mean about let's use it, irregular behaviour or irregular things going on. It's just strange, and it doesn't sit well. Has he done well for the club? Yes. Has he done well for himself? I imagine he probably has done.
The Cheery podcast?
It is, isn't it? We're used to being a bit doom-mongering.
Happy New Year!
Right, we're going to change lanes. I'm going to do this, right? Here we go. We're going to do, because this is sort of yesterday, sort of this month, sort of...
He didn't even put any indicators on here, Justin. He's
just
gone.
No.
He's just gone.
It's like Greg Thieker in Birmingham.
Just gone for it. Lord.
January. Lose with last kick in the first game. Who was that against?
First game in January.
January the 1st.
Oh God.
January.
Given away by Juraj Kuška.
Tottenham.
Yeah, we equalised with practically the last kick away too, but it's not a kick; it's a head.
That would be
Newcastle.
Boom, Newcastle.
Yeah. João Pedro, was it?
Yeah.
And on fireworks night, what was the only thing actually fired?
Oh, yes. So that'll be Ranieri, which was
Ranieri.
Yeah.
Boom, fireworks as we took on Norwich as they came along and beat us with their coffee waiter bloke.
Their coffee waiter man. Yeah, with mad hair.
Ranieri is fired. February, in comes Hodgson.
Oh, I'd shiver down.
Whose first game was the high point of his reign.
Burnley.
What was the score?
0-0.
0-0.
There you go. 0-0 against Burnley. Absolutely high point of his reign. And a still inexplicable lack of VAR going, yeah, that is a handball. A Dennis Header gets a winner at. Bear in mind, we only beat 2 teams at home and one was Man United.
So was it Man United then? Did we beat them?
No. I said it wasn't Man United.
Villa.
We only beat
Aston Villa.
It
was Aston Villa, yes.
But we come back to earth with really the more of the trend when we lose 4-1 at home. To whom?
Oh,
Chelsea.
Incorrect.
In
February.
West Ham?
I'll give you a clue. They had a couple of blonde-haired midfielders.
Oh, yes.
Blonde-haired midfielders.
Was it Palace?
Palace. Yeah, it was, yeah.
Palace.
I was like, Will Hughes, yeah. Yeah, Palace.
Yeah, Palace.
Will Hughes, and they also had the lad on loan from Chelsea, Gallagher. Absolutely. Yeah. My next point was, and then we had a win away. Our last win, do you remember who our last win away was against?
I'm going to say Norwich.
Did we beat Norwich away?
No, that was it earlier on in the year.
As I say, we played Norwich in we played them
September.
Was it Dennis had a
last win away? Where?
Well, just call it our last win. Full stop.
Oh, right, okay.
Saying away gives it an elevation it really doesn't deserve.
Yes. I don't remember us beating anyone away, Peter. You're gonna have to put me out my misery there.
Piss was that?
We were away. I'll give you one clue. Katie hated it because it was a Junior Hornets day and there were kids.
Southampton. I was there. Southampton.
There you go. It was Southampton.
Yeah.
Excellent. Some of my best work. I said, and we win at Southampton, which sees us turn a corner. April. Unfortunately, the corner we turned was a blind bend, and behind it was Liverpool, Leeds, Brentford, Man City, and Burnley, and waiting to make April absolutely bloody pointless. I mean, we lost every single one of those. What was the most painful, do we remember as?
Brentford, I think, because weren't we doing really well in that game? And then
we were winning.
A penalty. And
we gave a penalty away, and then Truce de Kong gave a penalty away, and somebody else did something fucking stupid.
May sees us relegated, but allows Roy to have a reunion with some adoring supporters. All happy because they're fucking shot of him, absolutely, yeah.
What was that result? Was that 2-0 Palace?
That was 1-0 Palace, wasn't it?
1-0, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, yeah. No, there was nothing even remotely exciting about it, other than at that particular game, somebody, sometimes known as Hercules, occasionally known as Putney, had a bite out of something truly awful.
Yes, he did.
Putney the horse, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, legend he is. I made Putney what he is now. He's retired now. He's living in California.
Is he?
It's nice to know.
Yeah. Hopefully in a glue factory.
It had been eaten by dogs in tins. Yeah.
Putney's probably been taking this basic kind of vitamin shots ever since. So
Putney with a side order of chutney, I think. Yeah.
So when we appointed future Luton Town manager Rob Edwards,
oh God,
what team did we play that day? Before which he was paraded in front of the fans.
That's a fantastic question.
That is a great question, and I'm going to say it was not a clue. Hang on.
I mean, neither. God, this is terrible. It wasn't that long ago.
If it helps you, don't forget the Forest Green Rovers chairman was very upset.
He was pissed, wasn't he?
Not only because he got a very uneven haircut, but also he was so angry he threatened to cut off a year's supply worth of tofu to Watford, which we didn't give a shit about. Everton.
Who was still miles off.
Hang on, it wasn't Everton. Everton was an evening game.
Everton, yes, and
we paraded Rob in a Saturday game because I was there. I wasn't at
it in an evening
game. Yeah, we did.
No, we did it. No, we did it on a Saturday because I was at the Saturday one, but not the Everton game. So we paraded Rob. You'd have to check. What was the game before Everton?
In Crystal Palace, we got beaten. It wasn't. It was Everton. I'm telling you now, it was Everton.
It was at this moment that he knew he fucked up
because we had the spaces thereafter, and we were all saying, "Oh, yeah, he's quite good looking, isn't he? Yeah, fine, excellent, great." And we were all
challenge on this.
We were all incredibly happy.
He wants to put an official challenge in.
I do. I'm not sure. I'm going to VAR that because I remember Rob coming out and giving Hassan Kamara the Player of the Season award, and it was a Saturday. The Everton game was the whole, we've got the ball, we've lost the ball. And I wasn't at that game because I wasn't well. So I watched that on the TV.
The last home game of the season, which was later that week, we lost it 5-1. Who against?
Oh, God, yes. And it was was it Leicester? It was Leicester because it was Rich Stevens doing his walk.
Well done.
Yeah.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Excellent. And the final question, and I was going to say about Rich Stevens. Rich Stevens walked all the way from Leicester with his good friend there. What was the charity that he was raising money for?
It was the Anna Kennedy charity.
Oh, look at that! I thought you were both going to go, "Oh, fuck off! We don't remember that."
I remember that.
Final question. Both Carl and I were out of the country by the time the final game came away. And if you recall, we thought we were going to lose. It was a draw, and then we scored in the 87th minute, only for the opposition to score in about the 90th minute because it was that kind of season.
Chelsea away.
With the appointment of Rob Edwards, who was renowned for playing a 3-5-2 formation with forward-thinking wing-backs, fans look forward to signing one. Just one of them, perhaps Kane Wilson, who had played for Edwards at Forest Green Rovers. But we don't. Instead, we sell Femenia to Villarreal to take on static mime artist Mario Gaspar in return. Before this, though, our first signing is Vakun Bayo, signed from Charleroi, where the managing director is Mogi Bayat's brother. The good news is that Bayo, not Bayat, is an asset that is increasing in value. Having signed permanently the day before by Charleroi for 1.5 on the 1st of July, his value skyrockets to 5.8 the next day as Watford part with his fee to secure the forward. The inflation of 4.3 million in 24 hours is something even Liz Truss and Kwasi Kwarteng couldn't have fucking managed. With desperate need of a right wing back, Watford finally swooped to sign football impersonator Ray Minaj from Barcelona with a capital B. At both ends, Barcelona B.
Barcelona B.
On a free transfer. And let's be honest, we were robbed.
Oh, God, Raymond
Yeah, he's not. I mean, I'd probably get in a team ahead of him, I think. The next meeting that they do, these meetings that they're having where obviously the atmosphere around the camp isn't very good. What they should do is not have a meeting and just play last night's Twitter space to the players.
Yeah.
Because that will kind of give them a flavour of where we are as a group of fans that pay our hard-earned money to travel all over the country, and fair play to those guys that were at Swansea as we record this last night.
Yeah,
fair play to them. They all deserve, in my opinion, a fucking refund because quite honestly, it's absolute shambles. But no, I agree completely, Justin. I think there's not one player that in the future would come out and we'd all go, I remember him fondly.
No, and there's none that I could be asked to discuss things on a podcast. If say we were doing this in 20 years. And we're looking back for players to talk to, you go, well, there's none of that team I could be asked with because A, they have no stories to tell. B, I'd find it very difficult to be nice to them.
I've never forgiven him for laying down, pretending to be shot at Bournemouth away.
That was
that time.
Disgusting. Was that Decore who was telling him to get up? It was.
Get the I've never forgiven him for that.
Or Capu, it was one of them, wasn't it? Saying get up. That was disgusting. But yeah,
and that little mangy run that away at Blackpool.
Oh God!
Where allegedly he was injured.
Yeah. No, he's not good enough. And I don't want to go all sort of Uncle Ron on it, but he's been given a very nice contract and been paid an awful lot of money to be that bad. And I think that that's endemic across the whole team. Really, it's these ridiculous contracts that they're given of a lot of money that you're kind of stuck with. Andre Gray, I think, is probably the prime.
Yeah, he's the pinnacle of it. But there's a culture, I think, at the club now where underperformance and just not caring. There's not one player that cares as far as I can see. I'd love players to come out and stand in a room with 10 supporters and just say we do care. I I generally don't think they do. They go home to their £1 million houses and their flash cars and their bank balance that we'd all love, and they don't care. They don't give a shit.
But I tell you one thing, over the course of this year, we've heard more people reference the feeling of disconnectedness from the club, the feeling of feeling remote, of not being connected to the club as they wish to, as they historically have felt before. And that it's an increasingly it's just an absolute increasing trend constantly.
But the trouble is that when you've got a disconnect with fans, it's never going to heal, is it? Because by very nature, it's a disconnect. It's shut out. You're shut out. And
well, a change has to happen, doesn't it?
But how does that happen?
Yeah. It changes by communication. Look at the difference when Andrew French came in. Okay, I know we've posted something up with him and have had a chat with him today, which has been fabulous. But he came in and has taken the Watford Observer to new heights in terms of having somebody who's looking at it, having somebody. I mean, it can't be small. The fact that he's a fan himself,
I love him,
and he's also knowledgeable
but
because
that's good for the Watford Observer, Peter. That's not good for the fans in a way.
No, but look what happened when Duxbury came out in that initial point. Now, I grant you, the moment that Rob went, everything went the other way because we were thinking everybody was suckered into this. Everybody thought, we're talking about culture. We're talking about having something long term. We're talking about giving a young progressive coach an opportunity. And the moment it went away again, that's where it breaks. Yeah. And what's happened since? Communication has been shut down from the hierarchy of the club.
Yeah, he doesn't care though, does he, Gino? He doesn't care. I mean, that's what it boils down to. He does.
So to make him care, what do you do?
Well, that's what we were saying earlier on. What as a fan base, I think we have to do. All right, let's just take worst case scenario. Yeah, let's say we carry on this season as we are currently, and the worst happens, we go down. So we're now a League One side. Now, is Gino Pozzo likely to stay around with us being a League One side, or is he going to carry on doing what he does in League One? For that question first and foremost, as a fan base, are we happy that we're a League One side based on the money that should have been coming into the club and the players that we've had and the all that money that's Peter's mentioned before that's gone elsewhere? Are we acceptable? Are we accepting that we're a League One side, or are we going to do something about it? But it can't be just us three, or it can't be another podcast. It's got to be all of us.
The drop to the third tier last time didn't trigger any.
But we were a very different club back then. A very different club in terms of finances, what we had going on in the background, and we bounced straight back up, and we went on that, we Graham Taylor and so forth. So that being at your lowest point changed very quickly. As soon as Graham Taylor came back, we went back up. We've now gone full circle, where it feels to me that we're in a similar situation, that a big change has to happen now. I don't know. I haven't got the answers. I can't sit here, just like you guys haven't. I don't know what the best way to get my opinion across to Gino Pozzo, whether he listens or not, is, or how we do it in the correct way. Because none of us want to get fucking banned from the club. None of us want to cause damage. None of us want to do any of that. But as a football fan, as a fan of my club, I pay thousands of pounds, as everyone else does. It's in my blood. I want to tell the owner that he's pissing me off, and what he's doing has to change.
There's two forms of resolution here. If it goes in our favour, because of course, if it doesn't go in our favour, then nothing changes. Nothing goes on. We get rid of Gino, or we effect change with Gino in place. I don't think there is any supporter who would not like to see Gino in place, but the club run under. On a basis of the kind of values that Graham Taylor had: openness, transparency, a commitment to youth. We heard a load of shit from Scott Duxbury about how we were opening the doorways and the career paths for local players. In fairness, it might not be bullshit. There may be stuff we'll go and see about that, but nothing has been visible for a very, very long time. And it takes, let's face it, an injury list of COVID levels for Adrian Blake to get a position on the bench and not get used at Swansea last night. So are we seeing a pathway through for younger players? No, I don't think we are. So would I like to see Gino not take the arrogant approach, not take the dismissive approach to what the supporters want, but actually take on board Watford again, as he did when he first came here, as a project and communicate to us. What's the problem with that? Where is the problem with that? Because if he tells us bad news, you know what we do? We go, oh, that's bad news, isn't it? Oh, our club's up against it. And what do you do when your club's up against it? You defend it to everybody. Being like Watford is like, and talking to other supporters is like being from the UK and going abroad and somebody having a go at the NHS. It's all right for us to whinge about it. Don't let any other bugger do so. No way. We become naturally defensive about it, but we're kept on the outside. We are as informed by the club hierarchy, shall we say, as every Man United fan is. So why shouldn't they think that, well, you're just daft and you just sack managers all the time? So the key point here, despite everything else, is the culture is linked to communication. He needs to do that. If he doesn't, it then comes down to, okay, he wants to sell the club. Rumours are that he is looking for external investment and would consider a wholesale of the club if the right deal was going to come in. But the one thing we know about Gino is that he drives an incredibly hard bargain and is quite happy to just walk away and be belligerent and obstinate, stubborn even. Oh, go figure, right?
Would you prefer it to be Gino in charge, but with Graham Taylor transparency, etc.? It's never going to happen because that's going to involve him changing his mind on everything. How he acts, how he runs the club, how he allows people to communicate, etc., etc., etc. So at what point do we go, where is the line in the sand then? Because, I think earlier on we probably said, if we get relegated to League One, that'd be a line in the sand. Fine, we get relegated, the fans are pissed off, but are any of them going to do anything to show their dissent? I think the only thing that could be done is a banner across the rookery from right across saying we've had enough. But that involves finding 20 grand from somewhere and finding someone to print it and then us organising to do it. That's it. I can't see any other way of showing your dissatisfaction because we will still go. We will still buy season tickets. We will still buy merchandise. That's inherent.
You do know what you say about being frisked. You do know that Birmingham did this, but they used something other than tennis balls.
What did they?
What shit?
No, Birmingham took. No, they threw
protests.
They threw dildos onto the pitch.
Now there you go. You see.
Now, how do you think you might get a dildo past somebody frisking you
in your pants?
Yeah,
that's how uncomfortable a steward's going to be going.
Is that called keistering?
No, that would be going somewhere else. I suspect.
I would be happy, right, to have a conversation with anyone, whether it be down the bunker, whatever, for anybody that said, right, I've had enough of Gino, we've had enough of the owners, we need to do something. We get it all the time in our private mail, whatever. We've all seen it. You guys do X, Y, and Z. Why don't you start this? But why should it come to us because we've got this platform? I'm happy to do. I don't want Gino at the club. I'll say it. I don't want him at the club. I don't think he'll ever change. The sacking of Rob Edwards finalised that for me. We're now in a position where I'm looking up at them horrible lot up the road and thinking they've got a great little manager there, and they've got potential to carry on from where they left off.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if somebody said to me, "What would you do to this, do a dissatisfaction, show your thing?" If we all come together, there's an opportunity to show the club, over one game, end of the season, whatever it is, that we're not happy and we want change. Now, it's the club's choice or the owner's choice to change that. But until we do something, until we actually make that step, and it's a big step, nothing's going to change because we can put as much as we want on social media, tagging #WatfordFC, and they don't recognise that stuff. And you could ask every season ticket holder to send a tweet to the club going, Gino out. It wouldn't make a blind bit of difference.
There are 18 teams below us in that division that would go, we'd love to be where you are with all those players.
Of course.
All that money and the lovely stadium and all the rest of it.
But there's also teams like Derby County that had all that, had more than that. And look at them. Look at the position they're in. The whole league is littered with teams that have made bad mistakes from owners. I'm not saying that Gino's going to put us into administration or anything like that. I'm just saying on this current road, this path that we're on, I don't see how we get back to the Premier League based on the recruitment, based on the guys at the. I just don't see it.
You want to go back to the Premier League is for the money, but what you will end up with is what we had last time out, which is 11 defeats at home in a row, getting 27 points in a season. Do you know what I mean?
I want to play as a Watford supporter, and I want to play at the highest possible position that we can.
That means a season like we had last year, which was you and I were fucking moaning about that all season.
But,
this is shit.
But the point has to be
as opposed to this season, of course.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
Exactly. But the point has to be that we have to do it correctly. We have to do it in the right way. I agree. There is no point in if we went up this season. It's never going to happen. But if we went up this season, we'd be straight back down because we haven't got the stability at the club. And that's what we need, the stability. Does Gino Pozzo give us stability? No, he doesn't. Does the current regime give us anything like that? No, it doesn't. I don't think the recruitment does. I think that the whole place smells, feels terrible. It just feels like an effort to support this team. And if it feels like that for me, it must feel like that for other people. And I agree with what you're saying, that going back up is pointless. All right, there's a bit of money in it. That's it, which is great for the club, I'm sure. But we're not reinvesting that money because we've already shown that we've already got rid of 2 years worth of parachute money in a blink of an eye. There is no investment at our club. So the sooner the new investment comes in, or Gino goes and I'm not saying somebody coming in is going to make it any better. It might be worse, but that's football. We have to. I feel like we've got to a crossroads where going straight forward now isn't going to change anything. We have to turn left or right, and it might be taking a step back for a bit. But I think in the long run, Gino Pozzo is not what is going to be good and healthy for Watford Football Club.
Happy New Year, everybody!
Well done. The glory days of the 80s when disappeared for.
Oh, it was a decade of nothing. Really.
And there's nothing to say that we're not coming to another portion of that and what the future will hold. But it just, something doesn't feel right in the terms of who's controlling the strings. It just feels like at any given moment, they're going to get a pair of scissors and cut, and our club is going to fall. And that's how I feel. And I might be overplating it, and people might go, "Oh, you're overreacting, you dickhead." But something doesn't feel right.
And we're going to be winning, and then we'll get up to our point of incompetence. That's the point about football. You can't turn around and go, yeah, but you can't want to go up because you'll finally lose. Yeah, like every other fucking team. Of course we will. That's what happens. We are not a Man United. We have to find a way.
It did happen for 5 seasons. It did happen for 5 seasons when we got put up last time, 2015 to 2020. By and large, we were competing with a lot of teams.
And at that time, we had an advantage. The Pete Fincham, we mentioned earlier on, called it beautifully last season when he turned around and said the Pozzo network is no longer fantastic. You know why? Because everybody's got these things called computers, and they can all look up Football Manager, and they've all got, I think his phrase was, unfettered access to the Ecuadorian second division. I'm going to remember that phrase till I die. It's a great one. But that was we were good enough to do things differently. But of course, what happens is you get into a comfort zone, or you relax, or you stop doing things differently, or other people catch up with what you're doing and go beyond you because you're still fixed, thinking, we're ahead of the curve. And that's sort of what happened. We got comfortable. We didn't change. We didn't evolve. We didn't move forward. And it's very hard to do that when actually, really, the controls of all of this is in northeastern Italy. Whatever happened, we lost our way in and around 2019. We have not properly found our way back yet. We've got a very expensive liability or asset will be seen in the transfer window in Ismail Assar.
Yeah,
it's not worth keeping him in terms of what he's producing. I would like us to see some more workmanlike players coming in.
Well, there we are. Bloody hell, that was.
Well, I'm thoroughly depressed. I'm off to go and get pissed now. Cheers, guys.
Was there anything positive in the last hour and 15?
Well, I'll tell you what is positive. Can I finish on a bombshell?
Please do.
No matter where Watford play, no matter what division they're in, the Do Not Scratch Your Eyes podcast will be there. Highlight of the season is Luton, isn't it?
It's got to be Luton at home.
Without doubt. Without doubt.
Be that.
Highlight of the year.
Probably the same because, well, yeah, it's probably the same, to be honest with you. I mean, I think back to...
No, yeah, I've got...
Well, I'm just going to say, I think back to the Hodgson 6 months as just being possibly the most attritional crap that I've seen for a very long time. As a man, as a manager, as someone who was in charge of our club, as someone who was picking teams, awful, absolutely terrible. So that's 6 months of that year written off anyway. No, I think probably the highlight of the year and the season is beating Luton 4-0, and that won't count for shit if we don't get promoted or we don't
finish above them.
It won't count for anything because it was just one game where we played really well and won convincingly. It doesn't mean anything.
Okay, Luton 4-0. You can't have the same answer. You know the rules.
Oh, fucking hell. He didn't say that when you started. You can't just make the rules up when you go along. He's being abusive now, Peter, on the video.
Have you not been paying attention through the World versus Cole? You can't make up the rules as you go along.
Okay. All right. So highlight of the season for me, you're gonna be shocked, was Blackpool away. Despite the fact the football was shit, it was probably the best away day I've ever had. So yeah, that was good fun. I can't have Luton. You sure then?
Yeah, absolutely. That's gone. Been taken.
Well, we'll just turn it around in a minute.
There isn't much more going on, is there?
You better be thinking of one, Pete, because we're going to turn it around in a sec.
Yeah. I'll take away at Stoke was excellent. 4-0 at Stoke. That was good.
Watford 6, Crawley Wasps 0.
He's going on the female
well done.
Game. Got you.
Because we're absolutely stupid and go, yeah, fuck it, we'll give that a go, right? Yeah. We ended up doing a commentary.
Can I change mine?
I don't know how many people listened, but it was great fun to do anyway. There was Carl with basically the mother of all hangovers.
It was a bad one.
Who was caught between trying to stay still because he was hungover with trying to jump up and down because he was cold, which was great because he basically got caught in this kind of self-harming loop, which was really pleasing from where I was, which was up at the top of a gantry, having had the piss royally taken out of me on the way up and knowing it was going to be the same on the way down. Yeah. The women's team have taken this season like we wish the men would. There's a belief, there's a commitment there. The crowds aren't enormous, don't get me wrong, but if you could get along, what a difference it'd make. It would be, every single person who goes along and cheers makes a difference, and you feel that. We talk about a lack of connection. That is not a case with the women's team. It would be great to see them back and playing a game at Vicarage Road. I mean, they only open up the one stand, but they make absolute the most out of it, and they really appreciate the fact that they're representing you. So
nice place to finish off, I think.
That's a lovely place to finish off, yeah. Let's see what 2023 holds. I don't think, and I'm going to stick my neck out here, I don't think it's going to be any worse than 2022.
Oh, you've done it. You've just done it now.
The genie's out of the bottle, but it can't be. It cannot be any worse. Interested to see how the transfer window pans out. We've got this new guy in, and our new
biggest one in recent history
in a
for
decade,
me.
Probably.
Yeah, this transfer window, biggest one in recent history. Honestly,
I don't know.
I don't understate that.
I think he will say that what he thought he was coming into didn't happen. He joined and suddenly, Dakura and Kapu and everybody else kind of disappeared at the end of that season, but he was kind of left here. He stayed throughout relegation, brought us back up. There's something to be happy and grateful for, his first season there. But the lad constantly looks sullen and upset. I'd like him to get a move somewhere where you can see the best of him, and where he goes somewhere where they say, you know what, when you get 1-on-1, push it past him and bloody run. And he goes, you know what, you're the manager of Liverpool, Borussia Dortmund, whoever. Everton. I'll do that.
Well, I think we'll leave it there, chaps, because I just don't think I could take any more of that, to be honest with you. I'll be developing a drink problem very, very quickly. But listen, thanks for sticking with us on Do Not Scratch Your Eyes. We're always grateful for any feedback we get, etc. We're very grateful to our patrons who will be paraded at the end of this video in a list, I suspect. If you want to get involved with that, please just look up Patreon / I think it's DNSYE podcast.
Do not scratch your eyes.
Well, it's Do Not Scratch Your Eyes, is it?
Yeah.
Look that up, and you can help support our channel for as little as £3 per month, and you also get a few little extra benefits as well. So please do check that out. Also, do come on our Twitter Spaces. We had a couple of lurkers and new callers last night who were absolutely fantastic. We had a call from Australia with a guy that just summed it all up from 20,000 miles away. With a lot of expletives, but he just did it fantastically. Please join our Twitter Spaces. But most of all, thank you for sticking with us and for being there. Have a beautiful new year. Hopefully, it'll be better than last year. Good luck to everybody. Happy New Year.